Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today, it's time for a biology lesson. Under biology, today we'll learn about reproduction and the types of reproduction. Under this part, we'll cover the topics like asexual reproduction and asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, etc. So without wasting much time, so let's get started into our lesson. So reproduction. What do you mean by reproduction? So basically reproduction is a biological process which is a biological process in order to produce offspring. So basically reproduction is a process where two parents are involved in order to produce offspring. So offspring is nothing but young ones. So now let's go to types of reproduction. So basically there are two types of reproduction. The two types of reproduction are asexual reproduction sexual reproduction. So, in this video, under asexual reproduction, we'll cover about the two types of asexual reproduction: binary fission and budding. And under sexual reproduction, we'll cover about sexual reproduction in flowering plants in this part 1. In part 2, we'll cover about sexual reproduction in humans. So, asexual reproduction. So basically what is asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction is the process in which one parent is involved in order to produce offspring. Some organisms which use asexual reproduction are amoeba, hydra, and etc. So now let's go to the two types of asexual reproduction. The first type of asexual reproduction is binary fission. So, what is binary fission? So basically binary fission is a process by which the parent cell divides in order to produce offspring. So, binary fission is a process by which the parent cell divides in order to produce offspring. So let me explain with an example. So in this given picture, as you can see, there's one parent cell dividing into two daughter cells by n. So how does this process takes place first? First, this is the parent cell which has to be divided in order to produce two offsprings. First, the nucleus divides. So nucleus, the nucleus of this cell divides into two. So in cell, in a nucleus, we have something genetic information known as DNA, which is nothing but deoxyribonucleic acid. They contain chromosomes. Chromosomes are those which help in reproduction. So now the nucleus divides first in the cell. Then through cytokinesis, the two cells just divide. First the nucleus divides and next the cells divide with their own distinct nucleus. And finally, after undergoing the process, finally we get two daughter cells in the final. So some examples of these are amoeba, etc. So now let's move on to the second type. So the second type of asexual reproduction is budding. So what is budding? So budding is a process by which offspring is produced in a bulb-like structure called as a bud, and the bud eventually detaches at the end of the process. At the end of the process. So budding is a process by which offspring is produced in a bulb-like structure called as a bud, and the bud eventually detaches at the end of the process. So if you are confused, let me explain it with an example. So let's take example of one organism known as Hydra. So Hydra. So now let me explain the process of budding in Hydra. First, the parent body produces a bulb-like structure known as a bud. Next, eventually the bud grows like this. After, when it finds the correct time, then it detaches itself and will grow individually like in the last process. So first it will grow in a bud-like structure, it will gain all the necessary things, and finally it will grow individually here. So as you can see, one example of budding is Hydra. So now we have completed about the two types of asexual reproduction. So let's move on to sexual reproduction. So now let's move on to what is sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. So what is sexual reproduction? A process to produce offspring with involvement of two parents. Is known as sexual reproduction. So now in this part we'll discuss sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and in part 2 we'll discuss about sexual reproduction in humans. So let's move on. So here you can see a hibiscus plant. So actually hibiscus is a plant which has two, the male and the female reproductive parts. So here is the male reproductive part, this one. This is known as the male reproductive part. The male reproductive part is known as the stamen. Stamen consists of anther and filament. Anther and filament. So then like that you can see here a big one, pipe like one. This is known as the carpel. So this is the female reproductive part in a flower. Carpel top part is known as the stigma, which is supported by style, and the base part of the carpel is the ovaries. Ovaries contain female gametes which are present in one or more ovules, and the anther contains pollen grains. Pollen grains with a nucleus present in it. So now let's know about the process of sexual reproduction in flowering plants. But before that, let's go to some points. So as I showed, hibiscus is one plant which has both female as well as male reproductive parts. So flowers which have both male and female reproductive parts are called bisexual flowers. We can take some examples like rose and hibiscus. Examples: rose and hibiscus. So in the same way, similarly, flowers which have either male or female reproductive parts are called as unisexual flowers. Examples are papaya, watermelon, and etc. These are some examples of unisexual flowers. So now let's move on to the two types of pollination. So there are basically two types of pollination. So pollination is the process when a pollen grain fuses with a female gamete in order to produce a seed. Pollination is the process. So there are two types of pollination. The first type is self-pollination. Self-pollination takes in one flower. So basically self-pollination takes place in bisexual flowers. Bisexual flowers. Next, cross-pollination takes place mostly in unisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers. So when the two flowers are in sexual contact, with one flower having female reproductive parts and another flower having male reproductive parts, when the male gametes fuse with the female gametes in the other flower, then it's called cross pollination. Basically, This type of pollination is carried out by natural agents like wind, insects, and etc. So let's move on to the process of fertilization. So whatever I said about pollination is wrong, but when a male and female gamete fuse, the process is known as fertilization, not pollination. So now let's move on to fertilization. So the main key point is that when a male and a female gamete fuse, they create zygote. So the process of when male and female gametes fuse, that is known as fertilization. When a male and female gamete fuse, zygote formation takes place. So now let's start from the starting, how it takes place. I'll show you with a simple flow chart like thing. So first, what happens during fertilization? During fertilization, first male fusion of gametes. When a male and female gametes fuse, this leads to the process. This leads to the formation of zygote or zygote. So now in flowers, a male gamete fuses with the other part in the ovule in order to form endosperm, zygote. After zygote formation, there's something called endosperm which forms. This endosperm provides nourishment to the zygote, and the zygote doubles many times, multiplies itself many times in order to form an embryo. So when embryo forms, so basically this process takes place in the ovule itself. When the endosperm nourishes the embryo or the zygote, then it eventually turns into a seed. So let me explain the process of fertilization again. So male gamete is carried out to the female reproductive part flower in order for reproduction. The male and female gametes fuse together and form a zygote. So whatever male gamete, another one is left, it fuses with the polar nuclei. I forgot to mention here in the process, but it fuses with the polar nuclei in order to form the endosperm. So now after the formation of endosperm, the zygote multiplies so many times and forms an embryo. So the endosperm provides nourishment to the embryo, and the embryo eventually, the ovule eventually turns into a cell. As I mentioned before, that this all process takes place in the ovule itself. So thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you like, share and subscribe to my channel. And there will be many more videos. And not forget to mention here, in part 2 we will discuss how fertilization takes place in humans between a male and a female. So in part 2 we will even discuss about types of fertilization also. So thank you for watching this video.